on St. Patrick's Day, or kind of around that day, at some point in that time period, I like to traditionally watch one of the Leprechaun films from the horror franchise Leprechaun. And also, usually around the same point of time, or maybe even some other times around the year, I do break open some of these Guinnesses, which are very Irish type of beers. But as far as these Leprechaun films, right now they've made 8 of them to date. This is a steelbook collection, and there's 7 of them in this steelbook. I got this from the Walmart site. I don't know if you can get it from elsewhere, but you can buy this directly from Walmart, and it's a pretty cool steelbook that has the first 7 Leprechaun films in it in Blu-ray, and various quality as far as the way that they are presented. But this year, instead of watching one of those, I decided to watch the newest Leprechaun film. This is from 2018, and it's called Leprechaun Returns. And this one, unlike any of the other sequels past the first one, this is a direct sequel to Leprechaun 1. They kind of went the route of the newest Halloween trilogy, where they ignore all the sequels after the first one, and then they go straight into this one's like the Leprechaun Returns. Now, something about the Leprechaun series in general, since they never connect to each other, even though Warwick Davis plays the Leprechaun in the first 6 films, and the last 2 films is played by different actors, but in the first 6 films, even though Warwick Davis plays the Leprechaun, I almost feel like it's a different Leprechaun every time, because he ends up getting destroyed or killed in some way, and it doesn't really pick back up, and it almost seems like the backstory every time is a little different. So to keep it kind of straight in my head, that's the way I see it. Is everyone is a different Leprechaun. It happens to be played by Warwick Davis, but it's a different Leprechaun. And Leprechaun Returns is played by a different actor. His name is Lyndon Porco, and he does a good job. He's not Warwick Davis, but clearly, but he also has pretty good charisma. He has very good screen presence. He does look like the Leprechaun. I actually like he looks different. He's playing the same Leprechaun from the first film, but his wardrobe looked completely different. Almost looks kind of like almost like gunslingery. He's got this pretty cool green coat, and his hat looks kind of like a gunslinger hat, which is a neat look for the character. And even though it doesn't match Warwick Davis's, I do like the way that Lyndon takes his own take on the character. And as far as Warwick Davis not returning for Leprechaun Returns, I was reading about it in different places, usually from some interviews with Warwick Davis himself. There seems to be 2 main reasons. The first one is he just had a son, or he has a son, and he's not just had him, but he has a son, and he wanted to wait until, not to do any more horror type of films until after his son was 18 or something to that nature. That was one of the things. But he also mentioned in another interview that these Leprechaun films are very physically demanding, and he's up in age, and he's a little worried that he's maybe too out of shape to be doing what the Leprechaun has to do within the film. So I don't know. Maybe I hope he returns for another one. Not to say not I wish, but I do like the way that Lyndon does the Leprechaun here. But it would be nice to see both of Warwick Davis and Lyndon together on screen. That would be cool. You could have 2 different Leprechauns. Now, as far as the continuity with the first film, it's at the very end of Leprechaun, which, by the way, I did a podcast last year on Leprechaun, and for Conversations in Horror, I participated in a talk with Kevin L. Powers, and I'm gonna put a link in the description below where you can check that podcast out. So I think it turned out pretty good. And now this year we actually did 2 more Leprechaun podcasts. We did one on Leprechaun 2 and 3. So this year I've actually watched 3 Leprechaun movies in a short period of time. So I watched 2 and 3 and this one. But as far as the continuity connecting Leprechaun Returns to Leprechaun, it takes place at the same location. And at the very end of Leprechaun, the first Leprechaun, the Leprechaun is killed with a 4-leaf clover. That's the way that it's set up. Is the kid like slingshots like a 4-leaf clover into his mouth, and he falls into the well, and that's where he ends up. In Leprechaun Returns, he's still in the well, and that's how he comes back. There is a character from the first one named Ozzy, who returns here. The character is played by Mark Holton. Mark Holton played Francis in Pee-wee's Big Adventures. I'm sure Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and a spoiler for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is a hilarious movie, and I think you should. If you haven't seen it, I would check it out. If you have seen it, I would probably watch it again. I'd actually like to watch it again. Hopefully, they'll come out with like a 4K of it, so it'll be like a uptick in quality. But Tim Burton directed it. But anyway, so he's kind of the antagonist of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He steals, spoiler, he steals Pee-wee's bike and then ends up, he's kind of a bully to Pee-wee. He's pretty hilarious in that. And he kind of plays a man-child in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, as Pee-wee, Paul Reubens does as well. But in this film and Leprechaun 1, he also plays a man-child. He's a much older one in this one. He's a little slow, but he's very, very lovable, very likable type of character. But he returns here, and he's kind of he actually ends up being the person that accidentally brings the leprechaun back. The leprechaun, he comes, looks in near the well, and he takes a 4-leaf clover, and he's using it kind of like a crucifix. He has like one he's made, and he kind of does it towards the well, and then all of a sudden water comes up through the well, and he swallows it, and then later on the leprechaun like comes out of his stomach and kills him. But it happens pretty early in the film, so Mark Holton isn't in it that much, but the character does appear throughout the film as kind of a ghost or an apparition. It kind of sucks that he got killed, to tell you the truth, especially got killed so early, but at least they did have the actor come back. I did like the way they have that continuity with that. The main actress here, Taylor Spradler, I'm probably mispronouncing her name. I'm sorry, Taylor, but she plays Lila Jenkins, who is the daughter of Jennifer Aniston's character from the first Leprechaun. Now, Jennifer Aniston doesn't appear in the film. Her character, the leprechaun, at one point speaks as her character. A different actress does the voice, but as Tori Redding's the character's name, and it's the mom of the main character of this film, who comes back to the house, the same house where all of it happened. And a lot of bad stuff's apparently been happening with her mom, and her mom kind of was never let go of this leprechaun thing, which is unfortunate. It would be nice to see Jennifer Aniston back in here again. They kind of killed her off, but I don't know. Maybe maybe if they do another one, maybe they should probably never come back anyway. But it would be nice to see her in it. But so the main character, I don't want to go deep in some plot details, but kind of what happens is she comes back to this house, and then there's a sorority type of girls who are kind of into, I guess, solar power, and they're trying to run this whole house off of solar power, and they're trying to get that set up. And they're kind of, some of them are kind of unlikable, and some of them in a kind of a funny type of way maybe, but they all have some very big flaws. There's like 3 of them, and one of them's like all uptight and into the solar power. They're supposed to have picked this Lila up from the train station, but they didn't pick her up, and that's how Ozzy, like Mark Holton's character, had to bring her to the farm. So they're so up in their own asses, I guess, or own business, that they completely forgot to go pick this other lady or woman up at the train station, and she ended up having to get her own ride there. So it's pretty rude of them, and they're all self-centered and somewhat unlikable. So the first one's all uptight, and she's like the one who's kind of the driving force behind the project. And then there's an African American or a black woman who's her character's name is Katie, and she's kind of the intermediate, I guess, the middle ground of these characters, who kind of seems to be a little bit more grounded. And but she's also got a boyfriend who shows up, and she keeps having sex with him, and even though they're kind of broken up, and so there's like a lot of talk about that, which is it's a little annoying. But then the third character is Meredith, and the Meredith character is kind of a very irresponsible one. She brings back the guys, and she drinks a lot, and she's just kind of an alcoholic and kind of rude. But she's more fun than the other ones. But at the same time, she just seems a little I don't know, unnecessary. Maybe unnecessary, but she just definitely is. They're all kind of rude, really, when it comes down to it. And they're all kind of scatterbrained. But what's interesting is that they set up all this stuff, these solar powers, and the guys bring their cameras, and this drone technology was also annoying, because you're seeing them, talking about the drones and the camera. But the Leprechaun uses all this technology later to kill some people with it, so it kind of pays off, even though at first it's kind of like a little frustrating having to see all that stuff, but then later on it's cool that he does use it. As far as the deaths in this film, it unlike the first one, The first Leprechaun doesn't have that many deaths in it. There's a few, but all the main characters end up surviving through the film. There's a few random people who get killed, and a little bit graphic. But this one treats the characters a lot differently, and it ends up killing a lot of the characters. It's kind of more of a traditional slasher film, and he kills one of the guys with one of the solar panels. It comes off the roof and then like cuts the guy in half, and pretty gruesome. And he kills another guy with his own drone, and then he randomly kills one of the girls with a sprinkler head. He levitates it and then shoots it into her eye. Now the Leprechaun might come off a little hokey or cheesy, and you may think it's cheesy, but really it is maybe a little bit. But the character itself is a very powerful villain. He's got a lot of powers. He can levitate things, or through telekinesis. He can like move things with his mind and throw it. He can regenerate. At one point, he gets his eye cut out or knocked out, and he takes like someone else's eye and puts it in and uses it. And then he's got all kinds of like powers, and each movie they're a little bit different, but he's always a very powerful being, and he's really hard to kill, even though he may seem kind of goofy and small. And he's usually very into his gold, and his gold's been there, and that's kind of usually the driving force behind his motivations. He wants it back. One of the women here has used a lot of his gold because she found it, and it's all gone. So they're kind of in a bad place. Another trick that Leprechaun, usually when he gets killed or exploded, like one piece of him can regenerate back. At one point, he gets exploded, and then the little pieces of it turn into miniature leprechauns, and that's a pretty cool sequence. But even though the Leprechaun might seem a little goofy, he is quite a force to be reckoned with. I wouldn't recommend reckoning with him. You're going to lose. Unless you can outwit him like the characters do in this film eventually. Another connection to the first one that they bring back, which I mentioned before, they could kill him with four-leaf clovers, but they also bring in what I think it was established in the second Leprechaun film. They bring back in the iron because it makes it a little easier to be able to, because it's like in the first one, it's such a kind of an ordeal for them to find a four-leaf clover. But here they got the iron. So that's another way of making him, I guess, killing him, but he comes back anyway, but it's a way of maybe stopping him briefly. So Leprechaun premiered digitally in 2018, and then later on it was released to the Sci-Fi Channel, and then even later on after that it was released to this Blu-ray. It doesn't currently have a 4K release. As a matter of fact, none of the Leprechauns, as far as I know, none of the Leprechaun films have been given a 4K release, and they could all use a little bit of an upgrade, especially some of the first one and the second one, which were released theatrically, but they could use a 4K upgrade, including this one. Though this one does look pretty good. The scenes kind of consist of exterior day, kind of at first, and the exterior day, the flesh tones look pretty natural. The lighting looks it's fairly bright, but it looks pretty nice in general. They got some green St. Patrick's Day stuff going on here a little bit, and then you got interior night, which is usually lit. It's kind of lit at first, kind of a little orangish by the different lighting in the house. Later on, the lights go out. They'll use LED lanterns, and everything looks more blue. When it shows something without an LED lantern, it looks very blue. And then when it's with the LED lantern, it's just like kind of a brighter, kind of washed out, but not like darker blue. It's closer to looking like a genuine flesh tone. And so, but all of that looks, as far as the Blu-ray quality of it is, it could use an upgrade to 4K. I think you would see a little bit more quality, but as far as the way that it looks here, I thought it looked fairly solid. And when I was watching the film, I wasn't distracted by the quality. I thought it looked, but it was shot digitally, but it looks very, very nice in just HD Blu-ray. The black levels here are pretty good. They're sometimes maybe a little too dark in some areas. Now this could benefit a great deal from an HDR, a 4K with HDR, because with the HDR, I think the flesh tones would look a lot better. They look good here, and the textures and the clarity is pretty good, but I think that would really vastly improve the whole experience. So let's take a quick look at this packaging. So here we are. We got a very nice looking slipcover. By the way, I do like this back here where you got the Leprechaun and you got the most of the main characters, including Ozzy and three of the four women and one of the guys. On the inside, we got the same difference. As far as what we have a digital code, and we have the disc I think this is one of the better Leprechaun films. I don't like it that Warwick Davis doesn't return. That is a bit of a damper, but it is as far as the kills and the setup, and I like the connection to the first film. It is one of the better ones. I think the first Leprechaun film is the best one of the bunch, and probably the third one second. Maybe one day I'll do a video where I rank all the Leprechaun films. Maybe I'll do that next St. Patrick's Day. We'll see. But as far as this one, I really like the film. It is obviously it is goofy and it is the horror comedy, but I do think that they kind of got the right mix of horror and comedy in this one. As far as the ranking of this film, I'm going to give the film 3.5 stars. I thought it was pretty fun. It was like I say, one of the better of the Leprechaun films, and this release is pretty good. They do need to do a 4K upgrade, and that would be unfortunate for me since I already have the Blu-ray. But but it would be nice if they released even more of the Leprechauns in 4K. This Walmart set's right now probably the best way to do it, even though they're all kind of, let me show you the inside. They're kind of stacked in here. Anyway, in the meantime, if you could go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I would recommend drinking a little bit of this Guinness beer. And thanks for watching.